All I want is to check my balance, she whispered to the ATM, praying it wouldn't scream her poverty to the world. A man behind her laughed, and in that moment, both their lives tilted off course. Welcome back, my beautiful family and friends. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Now let us begin. New York City didn't care if you were broke or a billionaire. It crushed them with the same December wind. Ava Johnson tugged her thin coat tighter around her as she hurried down Lexington Avenue, the cold slicing through the cheap fabric like it had a personal grudge. Her fingers were numb, but she still clutched the worn debit card like it was made of glass. It was 7:42 a.m. Her phone's cracked screen reminded her. Rent due, 3 days. Daycare balance, overdue. She ignored the third notification. Overdraft warning, Chase Bank. Just don't be negative, she murmured. Just don't be negative today, please. Inside the glass lobby of the bank, everything felt cleaner, brighter, richer. The marble floor gleamed. The air smelled like expensive perfume and coffee from people who never checked prices. Ava stepped in line for the ATMs, shrinking into herself, acutely aware of the frayed cuff on her sleeve and the scuff on her shoes. Behind her, a group of men in dark wool coats and cashmere scarves talked loudly, their voices bouncing off marble. Closed on another building in Soho yesterday. Honestly, if it's under 50 million, it's barely worth the paperwork, one of them said. Ava tried not to listen. But it was hard not to, when every word sounded like someone casually tossing mountains around. At the center of the group was him. Logan Pierce didn't look like the caricature of a billionaire. No gold chains, no flashy watches. His suit was understated, tailored in a way you only recognized if you knew tailoring. His jawline looked like it had been negotiated with a sculptor. Tousled dark hair, a hint of stubble, and eyes the color of steel that had seen too many contracts and not enough sleep. He was texting with one hand, holding a sleek black card in the other. His friends flanked him like orbiting planets. Logan, are you even listening? One of them laughed. We could just wire $2 million to some random account and you'd barely notice. Please don't, Logan said dryly. My CFO already hates me. The line moved forward. Ava swallowed, her throat tight. She had exactly $34.72 in her head as her best-case scenario. If her paycheck had hit. If the electric bill hadn't bounced. If the bank hadn't taken another fee. For her convenience. Her chest felt tight in that familiar way. Not a panic attack, just life. She stepped up to the ATM, feeling the weight of the people behind her. The machine glowed at her, demanding. Insert card. Her hands trembled as she pushed the card in, shielding the screen with her body like someone might peek at her shame. She typed in her PIN, each beep obnoxiously loud. She just needed to see it. To know if she could buy groceries and still have bus fare for the week. That was it. The machine flashed a menu. Check balance. Withdrawal. Deposit. Her finger hovered, then pressed. Check balance. She exhaled, her voice barely a breath. I just want to check my balance. She didn't know the man behind her had heard. Or that the words hit him like a joke set up straight from a world he no longer understood. Logan glanced up from his phone, having caught her whisper. I just want to check my balance, he repeated under his breath, amused. He nudged his friend, smirking. Imagine that being your big wish of the day. His friend snorted. She's probably praying it isn't negative. I remember those days. Logan chuckled, the sound low. If I want to check my balance, I need a spreadsheet and 3 analysts. They laughed. Not cruelly, not consciously. Just the careless laughter of people who assume the world is padded for them. Ava didn't hear the exact words, but she heard the laughter. It pressed against the back of her neck, hot and humiliating. Her ears burned. Without thinking, she froze, eyes glued to the spinning processing on the ATM screen. Please don't be negative. Please don't be negative. Please don't decline me with an audience. Behind her, Logan grew impatient and took half a step to the side, casually glancing at the screen over her shoulder, the way privileged people thought they were invisible. He saw the number flash before she did. Available balance, $2.19. The smile drained from his face. The joke curdled in his throat. A pulse of something unfamiliar shot through him, cutting through the usual morning haze of deals and meetings. Suddenly, the marble floor felt colder, the bank quieter. That tiny, brutal number glared back at him, framed against the glow of a machine that had never given him bad news in his life. Ava's heart dropped into her stomach as she read it. $2, she whispered. Not even enough for a subway ride and a coffee. You've got to be kidding me. Her vision blurred. She swallowed hard, trying not to cry in front of strangers. The man behind her shifted, and she heard the faint rustle of his expensive coat. She hit exit with a shaky finger and snatched her card back, stuffing it into her pocket. She turned, eyes red, ready to bolt out of the bank and disappear into the city. Instead, she came face to face with him. He was taller, up close, and those steel blue eyes that had mocked the world a minute ago looked stunned, like someone had pulled a rug from under his reality. For a moment, they just stared at each other. A woman with $2.19 in her account, and a man who couldn't remember the last time he'd checked his own balance himself. Ava straightened her shoulders, shame transmuting into anger. You can go ahead, she said, voice tight. You and your friends can laugh again. Maybe my balance will make a good story over brunch. Logan opened his mouth, then closed it. The line behind them shifted impatiently. His friends fell silent. And right there, in that quiet, something small but irreversible shifted between them. Quick question for you, watching this. If you were Ava, standing there with $2.19 while strangers laughed, what would you do? Be honest and drop it in the comments. Run, snap back, or pretend you didn't hear. He stepped forward, unexpected words forming before he could stop them. I'm not laughing, he said softly. That was the moment their lives started to tangle. Neither of them knew it yet. All Ava knew was that she wanted to get as far away from that marble floor as possible. And all Logan knew was that, for the first time in years, a stranger's bank balance hurt to look at. If you're happy with this hook and Act 1 tone, I'll continue with Act 2. The emotional spark, where that one awkward encounter explodes into something neither of them saw coming. You have not enough humanizer words left. Upgrade your surfer plan. Ava didn't walk out of the bank so much as escape it. The warmth of the lobby gave way to the bite of Manhattan winter, smacking her in the face as the revolving door spat her onto the sidewalk. Traffic roared, a siren wailed in the distance, and a gust of wind almost knocked her off her feet. $2.19. She pressed a hand to her chest, like she could hold herself together physically. Okay, she whispered. Okay, Ava, you've been broke before. You're still breathing. You've got Mia. You've got bus tokens. Do you still have bus tokens? Her eyes stung again. She turned right, head down, weaving through the crowd like a ghost nobody noticed. Her mind raced through math that always ended in the red. She'd have to call the daycare, maybe ask her neighbor to watch Mia, maybe skip another bill and risk another fee. Maybe Ava. Her name on a stranger's tongue made her stop short. She spun around, heart hammering, ready to tell someone they'd got the wrong person. But it was him. The man from the bank. The one with the steel blue eyes and the easy laugh that wasn't so easy anymore. He was outside, no friends, no entourage, just him, coat unbuttoned against the cold, dark hair pushed back by the wind. How do you know my name? She demanded, instantly on guard. He hesitated, almost embarrassed. Your card. When the machine flashed your name, I saw it. He lifted his hand slightly, as if surrendering. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have looked. She felt heat crawl up her neck. So you saw my name and my balance. Great. Got anything else you want to invade? Or are we done? The wind whipped between them, tugging her scarf, his tie. People streamed past, complaining about coffee orders and stock prices, like this wasn't the most humiliating morning of her life. I owe you an apology, he said, voice low. In there, I laughed. It wasn't at you. It was at something stupid, my friend said. But I know how it looked. I heard you. And then I laughed. That's on me. Ava crossed her arms tightly, pressing her elbows into her ribs. You don't owe me anything. We don't even live in the same world. He flinched a little at that, because it was true in a way that hurt. Maybe, he said, but we're on the same sidewalk right now. She rolled her eyes and turned away. Look, I'm late for work. What do? He asked, before he could stop himself. She shot him a look. "You planning to buy my job and lay me off too?" That sting landed. He deserved it, and he knew it. "I'm not your enemy," he said quietly. Then, "Stop following me." He should have. Walk away, get back to his day, call his assistant, step into the car waiting at the curb. That's how these stories were supposed to go. Billionaire notices poor girl, feels bad, maybe donates to a charity and moves on. But something about the way her voice cracked on $2 back in the bank had hooked itself into his ribs. "Can I at least do something?" he asked. "You don't have to know who I am. You don't have to tell me anything. Just let me help." She laughed, short and bitter. "What, you're going to throw a 20 at me and feel better about yourself all week?" His jaw tightened. "No. Yes, because that's what this is," she snapped. Rich guy sees broke girl in the wild, feels a twinge of guilt, tries to soothe it with cash. "I'm not a documentary for you to sponsor." He actually smiled at that, a tiny, reluctant thing. "You're blunt." "I'm tired," she fired back. "There's a difference." A bus roared past, splashing gray slush onto the curb. She glanced at it, then at her cracked phone screen. 7:58 a.m. If she missed the next one, she'd be late to the diner. If she was late again, Maria would cut her hours. If Maria cut her hours, there'd be no rent. It was a chain reaction that all began with numbers on a screen this morning. Logan followed her eyes, saw the way they lingered on the bus stop, the worn strap of her bag, the cheap sneakers barely holding up against the cold. "Okay," he said slowly. "Then don't think of it as charity. Think of it as a refund." She frowned. "A what?" For the times the world laughed when it should have listened, his voice softened. "I laughed. That was wrong. Let me refund that." That line shouldn't have worked. It was weird and way too poetic for this freezing sidewalk. And yet something in his tone, the way he said wrong, like it was heavy in his mouth, made her hesitate. "How?" she asked, suspicious. He reached into his coat and pulled out his wallet, but instead of cash, he took out a sleek business card and held it out. "Come by this address after your shift," he said. 3 p.m. "Ask for me." She stared at the card but didn't take it. "And who exactly are you?" "Logan," he said. "Logan Pierce." The name meant nothing to her. She didn't read business magazines or hang out in billionaire circles. To her, he was just another guy in an expensive coat with a guilty conscience. "Why?" she pressed. "Why would I come see you? What do you want?" He swallowed, surprising himself with the answer that came out. "I don't know yet," he admitted. "All I know is, I walked into that bank, worried about a merger, and I walked out thinking about your $2.19. And I can't shake it." She stared at him, searching his face for the punchline. "I have a daughter," she whispered before she could stop herself. "She's 4. That $2.19 was supposed to stretch until Friday." For a heartbeat, the city noise fell away. All he could see was the way her eyes glossed with unshed tears and the way she clenched her jaw to keep them from spilling. He extended the card closer, his hand steady. "Then let me make sure you never see that number again." She hesitated, then snatched the card like it might burn her. "If this is some scam," she warned. "It's not," he said. "But if you come, you get to decide that for yourself." The next bus pulled up, brakes squealing. She glanced between the bus door and the man in front of her holding a doorway into a world she did not trust. She shoved the card into her pocket without looking at it. "I'm late," she muttered, backing toward the bus. "I don't make promises to strangers." "Neither do I," he said. "That's why this feels like one." The doors hissed open. She climbed on, heart pounding, telling herself she would throw the card away the second she sat down. But when the bus pulled away and she finally looked at it, the embossed letters nearly made her drop it. Pierce Capital Group. Chairman and CEO, Logan A. Pierce. She exhaled a shaky breath. "What does a billionaire want with a girl who can't afford a subway ride?" she whispered to herself, fingers tightening around the card. And for the first time in a long time, her fear of the future mixed with something else she didn't recognize at first. Possibility. Ava spent her entire shift at the diner pretending the business card in her pocket wasn't burning a hole straight through her uniform. Every time she grabbed an order pad, she felt the sharp corner brush her hip. Every time she bent to pick up a dropped fork, she heard his voice again. Let me make sure you never see that number again. She hated how those words replayed like a song she didn't ask for. By noon, the lunch rush slammed the diner like a tidal wave. She moved between tables, balancing plates, refilling coffee, forcing smiles. Sweat beaded at her hairline despite the cold outside. Her feet throbbed. Her stomach gnawed with a hunger she pushed aside because tips were slow today. Ava. Table 9's asking for extra napkins, Maria shouted from behind the counter. I've got it, she called back, already exhausted. She dropped napkins off, took another order, cleared more plates. She pivoted, tripped slightly over a kid's backpack, steadied herself, and kept going. But no amount of distraction could quiet the noise in her head. You don't know him. You don't trust him. You don't belong in whatever building that card leads to. Half of her wanted to tear the thing up and toss it in the trash with the spilled ketchup packets. The other half, the tired half, the mother half, the survivor half, whispered, what if he meant it? By 2:15, she was running on fumes. Her shift ended at 2:30. She could go home, crawl into bed, forget about everything. But the card was still in her pocket. The address printed on it belonged to a skyscraper in Midtown. A place she'd passed before but never stepped inside, always watching from the sidewalk as employees in tailored coats scanned their badges and vanished into revolving doors like a different species. Ava took a deep breath, pulled the card out, and stared at it. Don't be stupid, she muttered. Rich men don't help strangers. They don't even see us. But he had seen her. And the look on his face, when he saw $2.19, that wasn't pity. It was something heavier, something like recognition. As she stood at the sink washing her hands for the last time that day, her mind replayed another detail she'd been trying to ignore. The way he said her name, like he wasn't used to wanting to say someone's name. She shook her head hard, splashing water onto her shirt. Nope, no romanticizing billionaires. That's how people get scammed. She grabbed her coat, clocked out, said a quick goodbye to Maria, and stepped onto the busy sidewalk. The cold slapped her again, but this time she welcomed it. It grounded her. She started walking toward the bus stop. Left. She had to turn left to go home. She turned right. Idiot, she whispered to herself, quickening her pace. Meanwhile, across the city, Logan Pierce wasn't having a normal day either. Pierce Capital's trading floor buzzed with its usual orchestrated chaos, but he couldn't focus. Analysts rushed reports to him. Interns hovered with tablets. His CFO demanded signatures on 3 documents, all of which Logan signed without reading. He didn't trust himself to read anything today. What's going on with you? His CFO, Victoria asked, arms crossed, eyes sharp. You're distracted. Logan exhaled slowly, tapping a pen against his desk. Just thinking. That's alarming, she deadpanned. You only think when something's wrong. He almost smiled. Almost. But then his mind flashed back to that ATM screen. Available balance, $2.19. And the way her shoulders had dropped, as if the universe pushed down on them. He'd been surrounded by wealth so long, he'd forgotten what fear looked like on a person's face. Not fear of violence. Fear of not making it. Victoria noticed the shift in his expression. Are we dealing with a lawsuit, a bad investment, a hostile takeover? No, he said quietly. Something worse. Her brow furrowed. What could possibly be worse? A mirror. She blinked, confused. Are you okay? I don't know, he admitted. She stepped closer. Is this about this morning, the meeting you canceled without warning? He stiffened. I ran into someone. A business partner? No. A journalist? No. A woman? He didn't answer. Which was the answer? Victoria sighed. Logan, please don't tell me you're getting yourself tangled up in something messy. He stood abruptly, needing air. I'm going downstairs. To smoke? You don't smoke. Never said I was going to smoke. You also didn't say you weren't, she said as he walked out. He ignored her. 3:04 p.m. Ava stood across the street from the towering glass building, her breath fogging the air as she stared up at it. It didn't look like a building. It looked like a monument, a place built by people who didn't check their bank balances because they didn't have to. Okay, she whispered. You came. That's enough. You don't have to go in. Nobody would blame you. But she wasn't sure if she was comforting herself or scolding herself. Then she saw him. He walked out of the revolving doors, scanning the sidewalk like he was searching for someone. His coat was still open, hair a bit windswept, tie slightly loosened. He looked human. Not polished, not rehearsed. Human. She swallowed. He saw her. His expression changed in a way she didn't expect. Relief flashed first, then something she couldn't read. "Ava," he said, stepping toward her. "You came." "Barely," she said, shoving her hands deeper into her coat pockets. "I still might run away." He cracked a real smile this time. "If you do, warn me first. I'm a terrible runner." She didn't smile back. "Not yet." "So, what is this? Why am I here?" Logan glanced up at the skyscraper behind him, then back at her. "Because I didn't want the story to end on a sidewalk." "Well, stories don't always get happy endings." He shook his head. "They should." A beat. Then another. "Let me show you something," he said quietly. "Why?" "Because you deserve to see what things look like when the world isn't stacked against you." Ava's throat tightened. She didn't trust him. She didn't trust this. But she trusted the fact that he seemed to be wrestling with something real. Something that had nothing to do with flirting, or charity, or ego. 5 minutes, she said finally. "That's all I'm giving you." His eyes softened. 5 minutes, he agreed. As he led her toward the doors, she whispered under her breath, "This is a bad idea." But she followed him anyway. "For you watching this, would you have gone inside with him? Or walked away?" Drop your honest answer in the comments, trust the moment, or protect yourself. The lobby swallowed Ava whole. It wasn't just big, it felt like another universe. Sunlight spilled through 2-story glass walls, catching on brass fixtures and polished marble so clean she could see her reflection. A grand digital directory listed companies she'd only ever heard about on the news. People in tailored coats and gemstone heels glided past, badges swinging, perfumes drifting. No one looked tired. No one looked unsure. No one looked like they had $2.19 in their account. Ava hugged her coat tighter. "I don't belong here." Logan slowed his pace, just enough to show he heard her. "You're here now. That's enough." "It's not," she whispered. He looked at her, long and curious, like he was piecing something together. "When I first started out, I didn't belong anywhere either. First internship, I wore a thrift store suit that was 2 sizes too big." She snorted softly. "Right. I'm serious. You expect me to believe you've ever been broke?" "I expect you to believe I wasn't always this," he said, gesturing to the towering building. Before she could question him, a series of loud beeps cut through the lobby. Beep, beep, beep. A red light flashed on the turnstile. Logan swore under his breath. "What now?" A guard approached with a clipped voice. "Sir, your executive badge isn't scanning. IT flagged something this morning." Logan's eyes narrowed. "IT flagged what?" "Your account was temporarily locked. They're updating the system. You'll have to wait in the lobby until it's cleared." "For how long?" 15 minutes, maybe 30. Ava stiffened. "So we can't go up?" Logan looked both annoyed and amused. "Looks like we're stuck here." She raised an eyebrow. "Stuck, with me." He smiled at the irony. "Forced proximity, my favorite plot twist." She rolled her eyes, but the joke softened the tension between them. The guard motioned them toward a seating area while sorting things out. Logan gestured for her to follow him to a quiet corner booth near the window. Ava hesitated. She could leave right now, walk back out those glass doors, and pretend this morning never happened. But something in his eyes, earnest, unsettled, tugged at her. She sat. For a few moments, silence hung between them. Not awkward, but charged. Ava watched people swirl around like a current she wasn't part of. Logan watched her instead. "You said you have a daughter," he began gently. Her eyes flicked to him, guarded. "Yeah, Mia, she's 4. What does she like?" It wasn't the question she expected. Not, "Where's her father?" or "How hard is it raising her alone?" Just, "What does she like?" Ava's shoulders loosened a little. Dinosaurs. The pink ones. And pancakes shaped like hearts. And cartoons about brave girls who don't need saving. Logan smiled. "Smart kid." "She is." Ava's gaze softened for a moment before the worry crept back. "I just want her to have more than this." "What about you?" he asked quietly. "What do you want?" Ava blinked. It felt like a trap, not because he meant it that way, but because nobody had asked her that in years. Wanting things cost energy she didn't have. "What do I want?" she repeated softly. He nodded. She looked down at her hands, turning her fingers inside her palms. I want a day without fear. I want to stop choosing which bill gets paid and which bill screams at me next. I want to know Mia's future isn't going to break her the way life keeps trying to break me. She swallowed hard. I want to be able to breathe. Logan's expression shattered a little. He opened his mouth, closed it, and tried again. You deserve all of that. She laughed under her breath. Deserve? That's a luxury word. Not to me, he said. A beat passed. She studied him, suspicious, but drawn in anyway. Why do you care? She asked quietly. You don't know me. Maybe that's why it hit me so hard, he said. Because for once, I saw something real. And it reminded me of something I haven't felt in a long time. What's that? He hesitated, then admitted. Loneliness. Ava blinked. You? Lonely? You probably have a whole calendar full of people. He gave a small, humorless smile. People aren't the same as connection. That line sank into her like a slow, warm ache. Before she could respond, the guard approached. Mr. Pierce, your access has been restored. You're cleared to go up. Logan stood. For a moment, Ava expected him to leave her right there, because the forced proximity was over and real life was ready to resume. Instead, he nodded toward the elevators. You still have 4 minutes left, he said. Come with me. Ava's breath hitched, because she realized something she hadn't wanted to admit. She didn't want to walk away. They stepped into the elevator together, the doors sliding shut with a soft mechanical sigh. Two people from opposite ends of the city, sealed inside a moving steel box, neither of them could escape. For the first time all day, Ava wasn't cold. Question for you watching. Do you think Ava should trust this man, even a little? Or is the risk too big? Share your honest take in the comments. Trust or protect your heart. The elevator doors closed with a soft, metallic hush, sealing them in. Ava stood rigidly on one side, fingers worrying the strap of her bag. Logan stood on the other, hands in his coat pockets, stealing glances he tried to pretend he wasn't stealing. The elevator rose smoothly, but Ava's stomach felt like it stayed on the lobby floor. Which floor? She asked, voice low. 46, he said. She blinked. 46? There are 46 floors in this building? There are 62. She swallowed. So you're the top of the top. He didn't answer, because the truth felt too sharp suddenly. Ava stared at the glowing numbers ticking upward. This is crazy, she whispered. What am I even doing here? You're giving yourself a chance, he said. That's more than most people do. That's more than most people do. She didn't respond. She didn't trust those kinds of sentences. They were the kind that gave hope, which was dangerous. When the doors opened, a quiet, private executive hallway stretched out before them. Carpet soft enough to swallow sound. Frosted glass offices lined both sides. A receptionist stood quickly when she saw Logan. Mr. Pierce, your 3 o'clock meeting is waiting. He shook his head. Cancel it. She faltered. Cancel? Sir, it's the merger briefing. Cancel, he repeated. Tone brooking, no argument. Ava's eyes widened. You didn't have to do that. I did, he said calmly. You're more important right now. Her voice caught. Don't say that, you don't even know me. Not yet, he said softly. And something in his tone, something almost hopeful, made her heart stumble. He led her into a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire skyline. Ava had never been this high up before. The view stretched across Manhattan, glimmering glass towers and smokestacks, and yellow cabs looking like toys. She stepped closer to the window, her breath catching. It looks unreal. It felt that way to me the first time, too. I can't imagine you ever seeing something and thinking it's out of reach. Logan walked to the desk and leaned against it. You'd be wrong. Ava turned slightly. So tell me then, what does a billionaire want with someone like me? His jaw tightened. You think I'm trying to use you. I don't know what you're trying to do, she said honestly. I don't know your angle. People like you don't just bring strangers upstairs. A long silence stretched between them. Logan exhaled slowly, rubbing the back of his neck. You want the truth? He said finally. Yes, she said. That's the only thing I'll take. He nodded once. Then sit. Ava hesitated before pulling a chair away from the conference table. She folded her arms, bracing. Logan didn't sit. He paced once, then stopped. When I was 17, my dad went bankrupt, he began quietly. Lost everything. House, cars, business, friends, reputation, everything gone in 3 months. Ava's eyes widened. He kept telling us everything would be fine. He lied until he couldn't anymore. One morning, he took me to the bank to withdraw what little we had left. And the account balance flashed on the screen. $11.06. He paused. That number stuck in my head for years. Ava's breath softened. That's why. The $2.19 hit you. Yes. But you're a billionaire now. And it doesn't matter, he said. Money didn't save him. It didn't save my family. And it didn't erase the memory of standing in front of that ATM wanting to disappear. Ava looked away, throat tight. She didn't expect their worlds to overlap even a little. There's more, he admitted, voice rougher. Before he died, he told me something I never forgot. He said, "Son, always pay attention to the people no one else sees." Ava's chest tightened. Something pressed behind her ribs, steady and warm and dangerous. She whispered, "Is that why you brought me here?" "No," he said. "I brought you here because when you stood in front of that ATM, I saw myself more than I've seen myself in years." Ava's breath hitched. He stepped closer, but not too close, just enough to show he wasn't afraid of the space between them. "You think you're the weaker one in this conversation," he said gently. "But you're not. You walked into this building with no army behind you, no money, no safety net. That takes courage, Ava. More courage than most people ever have." She looked down, blinking hard. No one had ever spoken to her like that. "And what about you?" she asked softly. "Where's your courage?" He let out a breath that almost sounded like a laugh, buried somewhere under 12 years of pretending everything is fine. For the first time since the morning, her expression softened fully. "You don't have to pretend with me." He swallowed. Hard. And then Ava said something she didn't expect from herself. "Show me the real you. Not the CEO. Not the billionaire. Just Logan." Something flickered in his eyes. Vulnerability. Relief. Maybe even longing. He walked to the window and looked out at the city, his empire, his cage. "The real me?" he repeated quietly. "That's someone I haven't shown anyone in a long time." Ava stepped up beside him, not touching, just standing near enough that he felt her presence. "Then maybe it's time," she said. Logan looked over at her, and for the first time, the weight he carried cracked open just enough for light to get in. Reflection for you watching. Do you think Logan opened up because he trusts her, or because he's afraid of losing the first real connection he's had in years? Comment which you believe. For a long moment, neither Ava nor Logan spoke. They just stood there at the window. The city stretched out beneath them like a living heartbeat. The winter light poured in, soft and cold, glinting off the skyscrapers and throwing gentle shadows across the office floor. Ava folded her arms not to guard herself, but to steady the unfamiliar warmth rising slowly inside her. "Logan," she said softly, "if you brought me all the way up here to impress me, it didn't work." He glanced sideways, a faint smile tugging at his mouth. "That's a relief. I stopped trying to impress people years ago." "Really? People who expect things from me?" "Yes." "People who don't want anything from me?" He paused, eyes meeting hers. "That's different." She looked away quickly, cheeks warming. He walked over to a small side table and picked up a glass sculpture, blue glass, twisting upward like frozen ocean waves. Ava hadn't noticed it before. "My mother made this," he said quietly, before things fell apart. Ava stepped closer, studying the delicate glass. "It's beautiful. She used to tell me that anything can be reshaped if you heat it enough," he murmured. "But she never said how much it hurts to be the thing getting reshaped." Ava exhaled slowly. That hit deeper than she expected. "Is that what your life feels like now?" she asked gently. "Constant reshaping?" He nodded once. "People think money simplifies everything. It doesn't. It upgrades your problems. Makes them heavier. Quieter. Harder to talk about." Ava softened. "You can talk to me. I don't know anything about your world, so I can't judge it." He gave a quiet laugh. "That's exactly why I want to." That line lodged itself right under her ribs. They sat at the small table in the corner of the office. Ava expected the conversation to feel awkward, forced, but it wasn't. It flowed easily, like two people who'd accidentally fallen into each other's gravity. "Tell me about Mia," Logan said, leaning forward. elbows on the table. Ava felt her entire expression change. She's everything. She's wild and funny and loud and stubborn in a way I keep telling myself isn't my fault. Logan grinned. She sounds incredible. She is. Ava's smile faded just a little. I just wish I could give her more. What does she want most right now? Stability, she whispered. A home we won't be kicked out of. A bedroom she won't have to share with strangers when we stay at my cousin's place. Shoes that don't hurt her toes when she grows. She shook her head. I'm always behind. It's like life is running, and I'm just chasing the back of its jacket. He studied her carefully. You shouldn't have to fight that hard alone. Well, I do. Her voice was tired, not angry. People leave. That's the part nobody warns you about. Is that what happened to her father? Ava's stomach tightened. She looked away, hands fidgeting. He left when she was born. Saw me in the hospital and said I wasn't the girl he imagined raising a kid with. Logan's jaw clenched. Hard. He said that? Yeah, she laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. I spent years thinking if I worked harder, begged less, smiled more, he'd change his mind. Logan's voice lowered. A man like that doesn't deserve you. Ava's eyes lifted to his slowly. She didn't say anything, but something warm flickered across her face at his tone. And what about you? She asked. Who left you? Logan hesitated. His eyes drifted to the window again. Everyone, eventually. People leave when you fail. People leave when you succeed. I learned not to hold on to anyone too tightly. Ava nodded gently. Sounds lonely. It is. His voice dropped. But today didn't feel lonely. Their eyes met again. This time, neither looked away. Ava didn't know when the shift happened, only that suddenly they were sitting closer. His knee brushed hers lightly, accidentally, but enough to make her breath catch. She wasn't supposed to feel this. Not for a man she met in a bank lobby. Not for someone whose world she couldn't step into without falling. But the tenderness in his expression, the way he listened, the way he didn't minimize her struggles, it soothed a place inside her that had been bruised for years. Logan's voice softened. Can I ask you something? Sure. What made you come today? Really? Ava bit the inside of her cheek. I told myself it was curiosity. But? He pressed gently. But maybe I just wanted to be seen. Just once. Logan's breath hitched slightly. Ava, he said, voice low. I see you. Her heart thudded painfully in her chest. He wasn't looking at her clothes, or her exhaustion, or the weight of survival sitting on her shoulders. He was looking at her. Just her. And it felt like standing in sunlight for the first time all winter. Ava swallowed, struggling to find her voice. Don't say things like that unless you mean them. I meant every word. The air thickened between them, warm, fragile, full of an ache neither was brave enough yet to name. Then his phone buzzed sharply, cutting the moment in half. He glanced at the screen, jaw tightening. It's my board. They need me. I should go. Ava stood quickly, masking the sting of disappointment. Right. Of course. You're busy. He stepped closer. This isn't over. She looked up at him, uncertainty chasing across her eyes. Logan? I mean it, he said. Stay. Just for a few minutes. Someone will bring you coffee. I'll be back. You don't even know if I drink coffee. He smiled. You do. How do you know? He shrugged lightly. It's just a guess. But I'd like to learn things about you by getting them wrong sometimes. Ava's lips parted, caught between a smile and disbelief. Logan moved toward the door, then paused, turning back. Please don't leave. Ava opened her mouth, but he was already gone, leaving her alone in his office, heart racing, surrounded by a life that didn't belong to her, yet somehow made her feel more alive than her own. Your turn to weigh in. Do you think Ava should stay in his office and wait, or leave before she gets hurt? Drop your guess, because whatever she chooses will change everything. Ava waited. At first, she told herself she'd give it 5 minutes. Then 10. Then she found herself standing near the window again, staring at the skyline as the sun dipped lower, glazing the buildings in gold. Her reflection looked small against the glass, like she didn't belong in this world no matter how long she stayed in it. But something inside her, something she hadn't felt in years, whispered, maybe belonging and being worthy aren't the same thing. A soft knock on the door broke her thoughts. A young assistant stepped in with a tray. Mr. Pierce asked me to bring this up. On it sat a cup of coffee, a muffin, and a glass of water. For me? Ava asked. Yes, the assistant smiled. He was very insistent. The warmth that bloomed in her chest was immediate and frightening. She didn't touch the muffin. She didn't dare. Instead, she sat carefully on the edge of his couch, coffee warming her palms, replaying every moment of the afternoon. The way he looked at her, the way he shared pieces of himself he didn't owe anyone, the way he said, "I see you." Nobody had seen her in a long time, not like that. She lost track of time. 30 minutes passed, then 45. Then the door slammed open. Logan rushed in, breathless, tie loosened, hair slightly messy as if he'd been dragging his hand through it. "Ava, I'm sorry," he said immediately. "The board meeting ran late. I tried to get out faster." "It's okay," she said, though something inside her had already begun to tighten. "It's not," he said, walking closer. "I told you this wasn't over." But Ava wasn't looking at him anymore. Her eyes were fixed on someone behind him. A sharply dressed woman stepped into the room, tall, elegant, her expression cool and assessing. Victoria, the CFO. Earlier, he'd brushed her off like it was nothing. Now she looked furious. "Logan," she snapped, "the board wants to reconvene tonight, and they want to know why you canceled 2 major briefings for a personal matter." Ava froze. Personal matter? Her? Victoria's gaze shifted to Ava, eyes narrowing. "Is this the reason? This girl?" Ava stiffened like she'd been slapped. The tone wasn't mocking. It was dismissive, dangerous. A reminder that in this world, women like her were just liabilities. Logan stepped in front of Ava instinctively. "Victoria, stop." "No," Victoria shot back. "You're risking a billion-dollar merger because you dragged a stranger off the street?" "Logan, what are you thinking?" Ava felt the words hit her like blows. She stood quickly, setting the untouched coffee down. "I should go." "No," Logan said, turning to her. "Ava, wait." Victoria crossed her arms. "Logan, we've worked 12 years to build this company back up. 12 years. You think the board will tolerate you jeopardizing everything over some emotional impulse?" Ava felt something inside her crack. Emotional impulse. Was that all this was? A moment of pity wrapped in soft words? Her stomach twisted. "I don't belong here," she whispered, stepping back. Logan reached for her. "That's not what this is." Victoria scoffed. "What is it then? Charity? Guilt? A crisis of conscience? She's not your responsibility." Those words detonated something inside Ava. Not your responsibility. She grabbed her bag. "She's right," Ava said quietly. "I'm not." Logan's eyes widened. "Ava, don't do that. Don't let someone who doesn't know you define what this is." "Oh, so what is it?" she asked, voice trembling. "Tell me, Logan, because I don't understand any of this. I don't understand why I'm here, why you brought me, why you canceled meetings, why you're talking to me like I matter." "You do matter," he said fiercely. Victoria rolled her eyes. "This is absurd." "Stop," Logan barked, turning on her with a sharpness Ava hadn't seen. "You don't get to talk to her like that." Ava flinched. Because this wasn't her world. And now she was the reason the two halves of his world were crashing into each other. "This isn't fair to you," she whispered. "Ava," Logan said, stepping closer, "don't do this. Don't shut down. Don't disappear on me." But the fear was already rushing in hot, humiliating, impossible to contain. Fear that she was just a moment. Fear that she was a mistake. Fear that she'd stepped into something she could never survive. "You're a billionaire," she said, voice cracking. "And I'm a waitress with $2 to my name. This, whatever this is, it's not real. Not here. Not like this." "It is real," he said. "I felt more today than I have in the last 10 years. Tears burned her eyes. And I felt more terrified." He reached out to touch her arm. She stepped back. The look on his face broke. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I shouldn't have come." "Ava." But she was already moving. Slipping past him. Past Victoria. Out the door. Down the hall. The elevator doors slid shut before he reached them. Logan slammed his palm against the metal, voice rough with frustration and something dangerously close to desperation. "Ava." But she didn't hear him. She was already on the ground floor, pushing through the revolving door, out into the cold New York air, heart cracking in her chest as she whispered to herself, "I shouldn't have let myself feel anything." And the city swallowed her again. Alone. Again. If you were Ava, Would you run? Or would you stay and fight for what felt real? Comment your reaction, because this moment changes everything. The cold hit Ava harder this time. She stepped out onto the crowded Manhattan sidewalk and felt the wind slice straight through her coat like it knew exactly where the cracks in her heart were. She didn't look back at the building. She couldn't. If she turned around even once, she knew something inside her would break open and spill everything she'd been holding in for years. Her breath came out in uneven bursts as she hurried down the street, wiping her cheeks with the backs of her hands. She wasn't crying. Not really. Just leaking pain she'd kept buried too long. She ducked into a quiet side street, leaning against a brick wall. Her heart hammered against her ribs, her body trembling as she whispered, "What am I doing? What am I doing?" She slid down the wall until she was crouched on the icy pavement, elbows on her knees, head in her hands. A billionaire. A skyscraper. A boardroom argument. A CFO who looked at her like she was a stain on the carpet. What did she think would happen? That she could walk into a man's world built out of money and steel and trauma and fit? No, she whispered fiercely. You don't belong there. But another part of her, the part that remembered the softness in his voice, the honesty in his eyes, whispered back, "He saw you." A single tear slipped down her cheek. She brushed it away. She couldn't afford hope. Not now. Not ever. Across the city, Logan wasn't doing much better. He stood in the hallway outside the elevator, chest heaving, anger and fear burning through him at the same time. Victoria stepped up behind him, arms crossed. "Logan, this is exactly what I meant." He turned slowly, eyes colder than she'd ever seen them. "What did you mean, Victoria? That I'm not allowed to talk to someone unless they're worth millions? That human connection requires a net worth threshold? That's not what I said. It's what you implied." "No, I said you can't afford distractions." "She's not a distraction," he snapped. Victoria sighed, voice softer now. "Then what is she, Logan? What is she to you?" He ran a hand through his hair, pacing once, twice. His heartbeat felt uneven, as if missing a rhythm it couldn't find again. "I don't know," he admitted finally, "but I know I've been numb for years, and today, I wasn't." Victoria studied him, expression tight but thoughtful. "Feelings don't pay for mergers." "Feelings are why mergers matter," he shot back. "Otherwise, this entire empire is just numbers on screens." Victoria hesitated. Then she asked quietly, "Do you care about her?" The question sliced through him. He opened his mouth to deny it, but nothing came out. Instead, he whispered, "Yes." For the first time, Victoria's expression softened. "Then go." He blinked. "Go after her," she said. "Before you repeat your father's biggest mistake." Logan's breath caught. And what was that? He waited too long to chase what mattered. Logan didn't say another word. He just ran through the hall, into the elevator, out the lobby doors, onto the street. But Ava was gone. Just the cold wind remained. And he whispered, to no one and everyone, "Ava, please don't disappear." That night, Ava tucked Mia into bed, smoothing a hand over her daughter's curls. "Mommy?" "Yes, baby?" "You look sad." Ava froze. She always hid her feelings well around Mia. But tonight her daughter saw straight through her. "I'm okay," Ava whispered. Mia wasn't convinced. "Did someone hurt your feelings?" Ava swallowed hard. "Not exactly." "Do they need a timeout?" A breathless laugh escaped her, but grief sat beneath it. Maybe they do." She kissed Mia's forehead. "Go to sleep, sweetheart." "Night, Mommy. I love you this whole world," Mia murmured, already drifting off. Ava brushed away a tear she didn't mean to shed. She had to protect this little girl. She had to protect herself. Logan Pierce was too much world for her heart, too much risk, too much everything. She placed the business card on the kitchen counter and stared at it. One call would bring him back into her life. One call would change everything. But what if it shattered her again? Her hand hovered over the card, then she pulled it back sharply. "No," she whispered. "Not again. Not with someone like him." She turned off the light, but couldn't sleep. Because every time she closed her eyes, she saw the look on his face when she stepped away from him. Not anger, not ego. Hurt. Real hurt. The kind that only comes from someone who finally found something they weren't ready to lose. In Midtown, Logan stood at his window staring out at the same city lights. He hadn't moved for an hour. He held his phone in one hand. Her name, Ava Johnson, glowing softly from the search results he never meant to open. He didn't call. He didn't text. He just whispered into the empty office. "Tell me how to fix this." He closed his eyes and swallowed hard. He knew what he had to do. He had to choose. Not money. Not mergers. Not the life that numbed him. He had to choose her. Even if she didn't choose him back, do you think Ava should call him? Or should Logan be the one to show up first? Leave your thoughts, because the right choice might save them both. Morning came slow. Gray light filtered through Ava's thin curtains, spreading across the kitchen where she sat with her hands wrapped around a chipped mug of lukewarm tea. She hadn't slept, not really. Her mind replayed yesterday like a film she couldn't pause. Logan's face when she pulled away, the way he said, "I see you." The fear that rushed in when Victoria tried to reduce her to a girl. Her eyes fell to the business card on the table again. Clean, crisp, embossed. Everything she wasn't. "This isn't my world," she whispered to herself. But another thought pushed through. Quiet and honest. That man wasn't pretending. That wasn't pity. That was something else. A knock jolted her. Not gentle. Not hesitant. 3 solid knocks. Her breath froze. She stood slowly, heart pounding as she approached the door. She hesitated for a long, trembling moment before unlocking it. And when she opened it, he was there. Logan Pierce, billionaire, heartbreak in his eyes, standing in the hallway of her tiny apartment building like he'd run through the entire city to get there. His hair was messy from the wind. His coat was dusted with cold. He looked tired, real, human, different from the man she met in the bank. "Logan," she whispered, stunned. His chest rose and fell with a shaky breath. "Ava, I'm sorry. For everything. For how that looked. For how I made you feel yesterday." She blinked fast. "You came here? I didn't know if I should. I didn't know if you'd open the door." His voice cracked slightly. "But I couldn't just let you disappear." Her throat tightened. She stepped aside. "Come in." He did, eyes taking in her small living room. The toys in the corner. Mia's tiny shoes by the door. "This is your world," he murmured softly. "Yes, it's worth more than mine," he said. She looked down, unable to speak. He turned to her fully. "Ava, you weren't wrong to run. You weren't wrong to protect yourself, but you were wrong about one thing." "What?" "You said you don't belong in my world." He shook his head. "That's not true. I just need to build a world where you feel safe." Her breath caught. "I don't want to fix you. I don't want to save you. I want to stand with you. If you'll let me." Silence pulsed between them, thick with hope, thick with fear. Then, "Mommy?" a small voice said. Ava turned sharply. Mia stood in the doorway, rubbing her eyes, curls wild, pajamas too short at the ankles. Logan's entire face softened. Ava swallowed. "Mia, sweetheart, this is..." "Hi, Mia," Logan said gently, lowering himself to her eye level. "I'm Logan." Mia blinked at him. "You're tall." Ava nearly choked on a laugh. Logan smiled, warm and patient. "I've been told that." Mia stepped closer, studying him with childlike frankness. "Are you my mommy's friend?" Ava froze. Logan didn't miss a beat. "I'd like to be," he said softly, looking at Ava as he said it. Something inside her loosened the tight, tired knot that had lived in her chest for years. Mia nodded. "Do you like pancakes shaped like hearts?" Logan's smile widened. "I think I might." Mia considered this, then walked over and took his hand with perfect trust. Ava's breath stilled. Logan looked up at her, eyes shimmering with something new and unguarded. "I came here to talk to you," he said quietly, "but she might have convinced me to stay." Ava swallowed, hard. "Logan, what are you doing?" "Really? What I should have done yesterday." He stood slowly, still holding Mia's hand. "Choosing you. Choosing this. Whatever this becomes." "Why?" Her eyes burned, but this time she didn't hide it. He continued, voice steady but trembling at the edges. "I don't want the skyscraper version of my life anymore. I want the human version, the honest version. And when I'm with you, I feel like myself." A tear slipped down her cheek. He stepped closer. "I'm not asking you to trust me all at once," he said. But let me earn it. Let me show up. Let me be the man who doesn't run, the man who stays. Ava let out a shaky breath. Why me? Because, he whispered, you saw the cracks in my world, and you didn't flinch. You didn't want my money. You wanted the truth, and I haven't had that in so long. She touched his chest lightly, fingertips brushing fabric and warmth. And what about my world? He covered her hand with his. I want to fit into it. Not change it, not buy it, just be in it, with you. A long, trembling silence. Then Ava stepped into his arms, slow, uncertain, but real. Logan held her like she was the first real thing he'd touched in years. Mia squeezed between them a second later, hugging both their legs. Ava laughed through her tears. This is ridiculous. It's perfect, Logan said into her hair. 1 month later. The diner was warmer now. Ava took orders with a lightness she hadn't felt in years. Not because everything was magically fixed, but because she wasn't carrying the whole world alone anymore. Logan sat in one of the booths, tie loosened, reading Mia a picture book while she ate her pancakes. Heart-shaped, of course. Ava walked over, wiping her hands on her apron. You break the pancakes rule, you wash the dishes. Logan raised a brow. There are pancake rules? Yes, Ava said. Number 1, don't let her trick you into giving her syrup twice. Mia grinned. But mommy, nope, not happening. Logan laughed, and it was the warmest sound Ava had ever heard. He reached for her hand under the table. She let him take it. For once in her life, she didn't think about bank balances. She thought about beginnings. Would you have walked away from someone like Logan? Or taken the risk like Ava did? Be honest, because love often finds us in the places we least expect. What would you have done? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and tell us, do you believe unexpected love can cross worlds the way theirs did?